What's up, man?
How you doing?
I'm good. I'm coming off like a weekend jamboree with my little guys, U7 team. So that's been, yeah, it's good. Like it was, I mean, I think you know what it's like as a dad. Like it's so fun, but it's also nice to have like a break from kids sports for a little bit. So I'm excited about that. So yeah, the glass is half full in both instances. It was half full for the event itself, also half full that we get the break.
Okay, I like that. I can
like a double rainbow of optimism.
100%.
How are you doing? How was your weekend?
I'm great. The weekend was great. The basketball season shuts down a little bit here. And you know what? I'm just excited to be here. I feel like I've been nagging you for 3 years to let me on the pod. And
I feel like that's not true at all. I don't
yes,
think
it is true. And you're nervous about it. And I can see that you're nervous. And I kind of like that.
This was my idea to bring you on, and it came out of nowhere. I wanted to look back on the last year and felt you were the right person because you are a director of content, and we're going to talk about content. So that was an easy. Those were easy dots to connect. But also, I think that everybody in our team appreciates you so much and what you are on our team, and I think we throw that term sort of quote unquote glue guy out there. And I think everybody in our team would say that you're a glue guy. And I think for those folks that have come to TCS Live and, where you're the MC for the event, like you don't just, there's MCs and then there's the MC job that you do, where I think it's as much a part of the whole experience as having you kind of be the Sherpa of in-person coaching event, so to speak.
Big words. I was not ready for that. I thought you just needed a guest. Thank you for everything you just said. But I have see. Here's what I know. I look at your calendar and see can I meet with Aaron every different day, whatever. And I see podcast prep. Like you treat this very seriously, and I appreciate that. And you typically know the guest inside out and backwards from all your research. You talk to people. I'm very curious.
I try to.
What you have on me. I'm very curious.
I don't have a lot. I do because I know you better, right? Like for the most part, like I know you better. So this is the one thing I want to start here. You told a story about your basketball team. So you coach Denver, your son's basketball team. How old's Denver? He's
14 years old. So I coached the junior A team at George Eliot High School in Lake Country.
Okay. Can you talk about what you guys did for the person that manages the gym? You told the story last week.
Yeah. So I mean, again, a lot of the articles, the podcasts, the videos, everything we do on the coach's site is very hockey centric, but a lot of it can work with any sport, right? They're just great evergreen lessons. And so I wanted to make sure we were doing things to bring us together as a team. I didn't want a team with 3 players that scored 20 points each and everyone else just got a rebound. I wanted a team that this game, this kid scores 20, and then he's on the bench next game cheering for the next guy who scores 20. And so the really only way to bring the team together to me was to just have some things outside of basketball. So we did a gift exchange, draw names and did that. And then we really wanted to salute Phil, the custodian at the school who just keeps the floor shiny and squeaky clean. So we gave him a little bottle. I had all the guys sign a card for him. But another thing I did was I had everyone just take 5 minutes and they had to write a letter to someone in their life that matters to them, that they want to thank for helping them get to where they are in their basketball journey, or just for making them a meal when they get home, or, giving them a ride, just giving some thanks. And I said, just be genuine with this. When you take it back to that person, don't say coach made me do this and throw it at them. Just give a genuine thank you.
Yeah.
I mean, these are 14-year-old kids. So a lot of them, they're learning that we should look people in the eyes when we talk to them. We shake hands. Like we just have some norms, and being able to carry a conversation with an adult is a pretty big skill at this age, one that I'm trying to reinforce.
So You shared that story last week. It really resonated with me, and it really challenged me. So my little guys team, it was our first, not a tournament, it's a jamboree at this age, but thinking like, okay, like how do we take a step with these little kids, um, and to reinforce some really good habits and just how we treat other people, how we appreciate other people. So, we made a comment about, how are we going to respond when our teammates come back on the bench? And so the kids all on their own, they sort of came up to the kids, Roy and Rhythm started doing head pats. And we talked about it between periods. And then it became this thing where like every time the line came off the ice, it was like every kid stopped and patted each other on the head. And it was funny. And I think that's the great thing about sports is like that just all of a sudden, that's our thing now. That's just happened organically. The kids love it. And the message was received, but it wasn't forced. But again, I got that inspo from you and you sharing that story. So thank you for that, and good on you. I was thinking about this over the weekend. Do your kids like dinosaurs? Do they like dinosaurs?
That's yes. I love dinosaurs, and my kids love dinosaurs. Yes.
Okay, so this is what's great about your kids loving dinosaurs. Oh my God, the flex. So the best part about your kids getting into dinosaurs is that through dinosaurs, they get into books. Through dinosaurs, that's I think for a lot of kids, it's how they begin the learning process. Intrinsically, it's the first thing that they're just motivated to go learn more about. They get introduced through books, and through dinosaurs, they gain confidence and hopefully an interest in just learning in general.
Mm-hmm.
And I think youth sports is kind of the same thing. Like the hardest, the kids that I coach, they've probably ever worked at anything is in hockey. For your kids, it's probably basketball. And they don't know they're working hard. They just know that there's a ball there that they got to try and win a race to. So they work really hard. They might not clean their room up at home or do it naturally, but we can create a fun game where they pick the pucks up and put them in the bucket.
Yeah.
And you just realize that like youth sports is a lot like dinosaurs. Like it's this gateway to hopefully a lot of good habits and experiences that are going to help shape and direct a young person's life moving forward.
I love that. And if it was betting on this podcast, I would have said I would have been the first one to mention dinosaurs. So good on you.
JK and I had a bet going already. Yeah, I'm going to say dinosaurs before DJ. So I know you and I think this is accurate. I know it is for me. Missed out on the online dating phase.
Yes.
So there's not neither one of us has like any sort of an online profile, at least for that purpose.
Nope.
But if you did and you needed to like just let someone know who you are and what you're all about, can you share what your sort of your quick snapshot on who DJ is and just introduce yourself to our audience, because you've got a really unique background.
Okay, that's great. How long do I have? 45 minutes? Okay, perfect.
Well, talking about the prairies. You explain the prairies to people that don't know what those are all about.
Yeah. I grew up in Brandon, Manitoba, home of the Wheat Kings. Used to wear kind of slushy pants when you were like going outside. You didn't know if it was raining or snowing or what it would be, so you had kind of these slushy pants. And I ripped a hole in my knee one day, and my dad said, okay, let's go get you a new pair. We went to Sears when this was still a store you went into, and flopped open the catalog, and he showed me all the NHL logos, and he said, pick one. And I chose the Canucks, the bowl of spaghetti, the black, the best logo in sports.
Yes.
I put on those pants. I've never played hockey growing up.
No way.
My parents, they said
Your brother did.
My brother and sister were both goalies. They were the first brother goalie starters in CIS history. Starting at the same time. Yeah. But put on these pants, and that was 1994, the year the Canucks went to the Stanley Cup final. And I remember watching it on TV, and my dad said, people work for the team that don't play hockey. And I was like, done. I want to do that.
And it was Vancouver, though, right? It wasn't just any team. You wanted to work for the Canucks. Brandon
Canucks, yeah. So I'm going to work. So I might as well have said I'm going to go to the moon, right? There was no way I was getting to Vancouver. And then in high school, I loved English class. And I remember my teacher, Mr. Lee, saying, you know what, if you keep working hard, you could be a writer. And it clicked in that moment. Okay, I'm going to be the writer for the Vancouver Canucks. So every decision I made got me to, I got an English degree at Brandon University. I got a journalism degree, Red River College in Winnipeg, which is where the Manitoba Moose were the farm team for the Canucks. Yeah. So I harassed them enough that then I started covering the Moose. When I graduated, my then girlfriend, now wife, Tasha, and I moved across the country, and they said, don't move here. We don't have a job for you. And I wrote enough stories, created enough content. They had to pay me so much money that it was cheaper for them to put me on staff. And then I was with them for 15 years as the head writer. I ran the website and ran all the social media.
Okay, so, but in those 15 years, like for quite a duration of that, I mean, you were traveling with the team, like you were part of the circus.
Oh my, yeah, which seems like an absolute dream now. So I'd be on the charter, in the 5-star hotels, at the restaurants, all the thing. I was essentially an NHL player without the paycheck. So everything's the same except the bank account.
Can you just touch on, you know, for the rest of us folks that are never going to fly charter and live that lifestyle, can you just give us a little peek behind that door?
Man, I eat a lot. And so I found out very early on that NHL stands for Never Hungry League. There is food everywhere. So you'd get on, there'd be like a full sushi buffet or like spaghetti and meatballs. It would be all there. And I sat kind of right over the wing on the left-hand side, first seat. And then the overhead bin above was filled with chocolate bars and chips and candy and protein drinks, and other side was more drinks and stuff. So it was just absolutely incredible. And then after a game, you'd get on, and depending on win or loss, what's the mood, there'd be a peanut butter and jelly sandwich sitting there for me, freshly made, and a little glass of whiskey. And it was just, man, it was so great. Now I get on a WestJet plane and I'm with my 2 kids and my wife, and they give me 3 peanuts and half a glass of water, and I'm in a seat this big. So I think back to that time a lot.
I bet. What was your favorite city to go to on the road?
I mean, New York, Madison Square Garden's the best arena. Nashville's a fantastic city. Vegas. But then you kind of, Philadelphia is super cool. Philadelphia, Pittsburgh. There was just certain cities that you'd go to Buffalo, and the hotel is attached to the rink. You can't really walk anywhere. It's freezing outside, so you never really get to see Buffalo. It never gets a fair chance. But it's tough to beat those top core cities.
No kidding. I was thinking about this too. So last night, the Sharks are in town playing the Canucks, and so I went and met up with Brian Wiseman and Jeff Allmer, 2 assistants with the Sharks, and so I get to like the restaurant at the hotel. I'm just sitting in the lounge area. Sunday Night Football's on, and then I look up at the bar, and it's Tyler Toffoli. What was interesting is like I'm watching the football game, but they're watching, I think it was Calgary was playing, and it amazed me. Like I could just kind of overhear their conversation. Like they were just such fans. Like in my mind, I'm like, if I'm an NHL player and I'm on the road, like I'm watching something else other than hockey. Like I want to take my brain, and it struck me as like these guys are where they're at because they're like they love the game, and they were so interested in what was going on. They started talking about players, and so my question to you would be like, is that a typical description, I guess, of NHL players when they're on the road, that they're still kids that love the game?
Absolutely. And I think the term nerds gets a bad rap. I consider myself a dinosaur nerd. I consider myself a hockey nerd, a football nerd, fantasy football nerd. And so I think nerd's an endearing term. And I think, yes, all professional players are nerds for the game, and they're just watching and consuming. And there's so many connections. They played with that guy, and they played with that guy in juniors, and they know that guy's sister, and they know that guy's parents. So it's kind of like watching friends play for them, but then it's also competition. But there would also be, I was part of a lot of Super Bowl pools and football pools. Like they're massive, just sports fans. There was always golf pools going on. There was baseball pools. So if there's Yeah, even amateur sports, everything. They love watching, consuming, and seeing what they can learn and kind of put into their own life to get better as well.
Yeah, it's I just think like I think sometimes when we chat about this, and I could see how easily it would be lost on you what just a unique experience you had. Um, but in saying all that, we feel really fortunate that you're on our team now, and that
Wow.
you get to steer our content ship. So we're gonna dive into some of the top content that has been featured on the coach's site this past year, 2024. Beyond the content, what are some of your highlights from this past year from a coach's site perspective?
So I think the biggest one is our teammate Emily Allen got married. So I think
Yeah,
was it September? I think it was our
August.
get together in August that Aaron organized this unbelievable scavenger hunt. So we were split into 3 teams. We all had T-shirts. Oh, I should have worn my T-shirt. That would have been perfect. Yeah, her junior hockey picture was on it. We all got split
And by
into
junior hockey, we mean like the picture of her playing hockey when she was 5.
yes, yes. To clarify,
Yeah,
a picture she didn't love
yeah,
was on all these T-shirts,
so
and so we
good.
were split into 3 teams, and we all had to go run around the city for I don't even know. It felt like 8 hours. I don't think it was, but it was over 10K we ran, and she was on my team, so I felt the responsibility. Like we are not losing. And of course, the pink team won. That was huge for me, and I know it bugs our other teammate Steven Evans that his team couldn't pull through. So anytime I can bring up the scavenger hunt, it's big for me. Um, I don't know. I think obviously I work in a different city, so the team gets together every couple of weeks, and they're in person. I only get to see you guys maybe 4 or 5 times a year. So just anytime we're together, and it's like a think tank, right? It feels like the movies where they all come together and just amazing ideas are flying, and that's awesome.
Yeah, I agree. No, that was great. I think the other thing too is just recently because you come in frequently, like we've added a lot of new team members and just getting to know them and our team has become as it grows, becomes more diverse and
Awesome.
and it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. What about personally? You've had some cool adventures here this last year.
Yeah, my wife and I climbed Mount Kilimanjaro in
Yeah,
Africa
you did.
in October. That was super cool. We did it with some great friends from Ireland. What else? Yeah, the family and I went to Mexico for a couple of days in over spring break in March, and just again, just fortunate to live in the Okanagan and be able to bike my kids to school and just spend a lot of time outside playing basketball and paddle boarding, and yeah, every day is an adventure, and I tend not to be too boring. So if it's random and fun, I'm in.
Yeah, I think that summarizes it.
That's again
That would be the headline on your dating
my
profile.
dating profile.
Random fun. That's
Yeah,
I'm in.
yeah.
Yeah, you know what? For me, from the work perspective, like it really dawned on me this year, the responsibility that we have at the coaches site because we don't just serve a few people now. We serve a lot of people that love hockey, that love coaching hockey, that I think they feel a sense of responsibility to be great leaders and great mentors to the people that they lead. And we're we're fortunate in that we get to play a small role in enhancing the experience that they offer their players by just giving them really an unlimited resource from everything from drills to tactical side of the game to leadership, etc. So I think and I think with that, I probably had more sleepless nights this year because I'm like, man, I don't want to let anybody down.
I hear that, but yeah, I mean, this has been your baby since you can go to Wayback. I think it's waybackmachine.com, or I don't know what it is on Google. Look up the coach's site, and you can see the first iteration of it and all the stories you're writing, and it's football stories, and it's just sports, and you can see that you were
Can
just,
you really? Is this a thing?
yeah,
Can you do this?
oh
Oh,
yeah,
no way.
you were just like your son, like just pent up on sugar, like he just needs an outlet to like get this stuff out. So it's amazing to
For
see what
sure,
the
yeah.
coaches say, how it's grown, how it's become. And I think we topped 30,000 users recently.
Yeah, we did. Which
Yeah,
is and 66 countries, which is equally as bananas.
insane. So again, I coach basketball, but if there was this for basketball, it would be a one-stop shop. So it's a one-stop shop for hockey coaches. And I know for basketball, I'm on this website and I'm doing all this. So it's not as easy. So you stay up at night, but we are providing a very valuable resource. And I think TCS Live every year is an absolute highlight for me, because you get to hear from people firsthand how it benefits them versus, I mean, a lot of people don't go out of their way to send an email or to DM you. You know, they're busy, but when they're at TCS Live in Ann Arbor, they take the time. You get to chat, shake their hand, and really hear. So, yeah, that's always a highlight for me. TCS Live is awesome. Speaking of TCS Live, scripting for TCS Live is one of my favorite things for the year.
That was my next on my list. Like, can you take us through that process? Because we go down to Ann Arbor and you disappear in your room. We don't see you for like the 5 days leading up to it because you're prepping.
Well, last year I was watching Ozark. So good. But I usually prep. But it's the jokes. To me, like, I don't want to just come and be the guy who gets up on stage and he's boring and here's the next presenter and he's a robot. So I've always tried to mix it up with the joke. So I brought a couple if I can test them out on you and see.
Sure, yeah.
Okay. So I've been told icy is hard to spell. And the more I'm looking at it, I see why.
That was pretty good.
Thank you. Okay, that's all right.
That was good.
Okay. How about this past weekend? I spent $500 on a limousine. But it turned out the company doesn't actually provide the driver. So I spent all that money with nothing to show for it.
That's good. That's good.
All right.
Yeah, that was good. Hey, so I don't want you to give up all your sources, but can you confirm or deny that these are sourced on the internet? Or
these are from, I have two people that I love on TikTok, and these are from them. Hold on, I got two more.
Okay. All right.
What do you call it when Batman skips church?
I don't know.
Christian Bale.
Got it.
Okay. Last one.
Yeah.
What's the difference between a well-dressed man on a bicycle and a poorly dressed man on a tricycle?
I don't know.
A tire. See, so it's not like real like poop knock talk jokes or anything, but just if I can give the audience, let them smirk a little bit, think about it between presentations, then I think I've done my job. And I remember last year, one guy yelled from the crowd, "More dad jokes." And I was like, okay, I'm on.
Well, I'll say this, like it is it's an intimidating stage to get on at TCS Live. Like I have to get up there. I got to do a little welcome address. I usually do a presentation just like on our product and what's new. And I say goodbye to everybody at the end. And it's a tough stage to be on. And I would say it's also like, especially when people first show up, it's a very serious crowd. Sort of, it's like, I'm here to learn about hockey and I take this so super seriously, not throwing any of our audience members under the bus. It just kind of is what it is. And I think that you kind of help break that ice, but that's not an easy room. Like people aren't expecting to show up there to laugh or hear dad jokes, but they get into it. And that takes some serious stones, I believe, to get up there and roll with those.
Thank you. Yeah, I have a boss who trusts me, and basically I just don't show him my script beforehand. But I know the first year I wanted to get up there and say like, hey, I'm more of a Ricky Gervais type host, and I was going to drink a beer, and that's when you were like, no drinking on stage, do not drink on stage.
Yeah, that was
and then I was also told no swearing on stage. And then 2 years ago, Dr. Jody Carrington did her presentation, and she was dropping F-bombs everywhere. So then I went on after and was like, I'm allowed to swear on here? Man, this is great. And the audience just, like, everyone was laughing. Like, it was awesome.
That's so funny you bring that up, because I was Brian Wiseman from the Sharks. We were just like, because he's from Ann Arbor, so he comes out every year, and we were just chatting about, kind of potential speakers, and he was saying, who two of my favorite were, and one of them was Jody Carrington. He's like, I don't know who this woman was, and she gets on stage and just brought the house down. And I'm like, to this day, like, best public speaker I've ever experienced. Like, just amazing.
Yeah, I think so too. And there's so much to take from. There's so much serious goodness to take from her presentation, but then the way she delivers it, it's kind of like a stand-up act with goodness inside. I don't know. It's like the perfect kind of rom-com movie, something like that.
I've taken so much away from her talk, both in terms of how I coach, especially like my son's team, because they're young kids, and it's hard if you don't have some tools in place.
Yeah.
But I think just in general, like how I think I show up in every aspect of my life and communicate with people. Like it is really impactful. I would really encourage people. I know we're gonna dive into sort of our top content from the past year. Doctor, she was 2 years ago, so she's not on this list. However, I would say that do yourself a favor. It's great too, because that's one of the ones like you can just put it on the background, listen to the audio. I guarantee you're going to take some things with you that are literally just going to become part of your coaching DNA. Guarantee it.
100%. And if you want to take that a step further, her books are insanely good, and they're just an extension of her talk. So
maybe a little less potty mouth, though. Can we say that? The books?
they are less potty mouth, which doesn't make it as good. She was.
I know
She was a riot. She's a riot.
She's so fun. She's so fun. Okay, so we're gonna. There was a bunch of ways we could have split this up, and we decided that we were going to look at the top 5 articles that we published, the top 5 TCS live videos from the past year, and then obviously what's super cool is the top 5 pieces of content that were published by users of the coach's site. So for anybody that's maybe used to the old school way of the coach site, we used to kind of be like Netflix. You could come on, you could see all of our content, with a paid subscription. Now anybody can sign up for a free user account on the coach's site. And it's kind of like LinkedIn, Facebook, all the typical places you're used to getting content. Users can publish their own content. And it has been, frankly, really amazing just to see how this has all come to life in the past 12 months. And people are really starting to use the tool and the platform as a way to share their best ideas and connect with coaches all around the world.
It's been unbelievable. And you put that on me. Make user generated content, which is a term we use internally. Make community content cool. Like, how do we get coaches on here posting for other coaches? And it's just been, the snowball effect, right? It starts small, and then I come on sometimes and there's 14, 15 pieces of content posted in the last 24 hours. And I think we're kind of just scratching the surface of that, right? So we're trying to make things easier, make it easier to post internally. And then I would be psyched if I put something up and then I saw the coach's site giving me a shout out over social media. Someone else is going to see that. I'm going to get a pat on the back, right? Like you feel good about that. And some of these drills that coaches post they're not reinventing the wheel, right? It's just, here's how to start a practice for 5 and 6-year-old kids. People need that lesson. Here's how to start a practice for 14-year-olds. And then it really drills down into niche problems. Here's how to, go against a 1-3-1 defense. That's basketball, but you know what I mean? Just
totally, yeah. But it's all, what I like about it, it's all like our game is so I think all sports, like I think so much, at least like for myself coming up, we're always these, everything was tackled from a very broad perspective. And I think what's great about what we're seeing from our users is they dive deep on very specific aspects of the game and provide, and you just realize how much detail there is, I think, in all sports.
Yeah.
And what it allows you to do as a coach, I think, is come in here and you can solve very specific problems that you might have, or if there's an area where your team is perhaps lacking or maybe just needs some new ideas, you're going to find solutions that come from the coach's site, come from our user group. And I think what the coach's site at its core has always been is sort of like Switzerland in the coaching content community, in that we're not saying what's right or wrong. It's up for you to come. We're neutral.
Yeah.
It's up for all the users to come in and decide what applies to their, the level they coach, their current circumstance. And I think that's the great part about coaching, because there's always more to learn.
So I think we're roughly 35, 36, 37 minutes into this, and that's your first comparison that you've done. So for anyone, we see Aaron every day over Zoom or in person, and he's the comparison master of the universe. Some other things, he's always on mute to start our weekly call, which is hysterical. But top 2 bosses I've ever had, okay? Just so you know, alongside Kevin Kinghorn, who is executive vice president for the Portland Trailblazers. So you're up there. And that Dundee above your head, if people don't know, that's why you have that. That's why that's there.
You know why it's up there? because
Showing it off.
because my son discovered there was mints in it, and it always come in the opposite. He'd like climb up the shelf, so I had to put it at the highest possible point so he wouldn't try and hijack my yeah.
Your supply. Okay.
Yeah, in my midday. So okay, so we're gonna start with the top 5 articles. So this is content that came from our writers at the coaches site, and the first one is from Scott Schwertly, and it's 5 ways to stay motivated when you and your team are in a slump. And what's bananas about this one, Derek? Do you want to just share with our audience how many eyeballs this got?
Over 91,000 clicks.
It's wild.
And number 2 on the list has 12,000. So this one absolutely took off. Some of the best evergreen content we have comes in the leadership field. And I think some things fall into leadership and it's kind of flowery and your typical coach stays away from it. This was one that like, yes, I'm in a slump, or I've been in a slump, or I will be in a slump. So what do I do? This isn't something you're going to avoid. And clearly people resonated with it.
I would say it's also great. This is a great article just to keep handy, because whether you're a coach or just in any aspect of your life, we're all going to hit slumps. And I think the advice that it provides is very practical. It's very actionable.
Mm-hmm.
But, one of the favorite all-time quotes that I've been exposed to through the coaches site is that, hockey is a game of reminders, from Chris Height. And I think this one kind of falls in that category. It's just, we all need reminders at certain points, and this is a great one to refer back to. And it just gives you a bit of a step-by-step guide that when, you're kind of in the skids, how do you take some process-orientated actions to get yourself back on track?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. And attitude fuels behavior.
Yeah.
Number 2.
Yeah. The one drill every coach should have in their toolbox. Greg Revak.
Friend of the show, Greg Revak from Columbus's own Greg Revak.
Even the title makes you want to click, right? Like, do I have that drill? So I love that one about it. And then it's a great drill. And it's actually got a lot of soccer references to the drill inside. So I'm not going to spoil it, but
I'm going to spoil it a little bit, because I was in the same boat. I'm like, what's a rondo? And so I went and checked out the article when it first came out, and I've stolen a lot from it. So effectively, what it is, it's taking a very common soccer warm-up drill and converting it to hockey. It's effectively a game of keep away, but what it did for me is it sent me down a rabbit hole on YouTube on looking on various forms of rondo drills in soccer. And I mean, I'll tell you what, like, we think people go deep in hockey, go down a soccer/football rabbit hole. There's, you might not come out again. But I learned a ton and took so much away just from sort of researching what a rondo was. And this was a great, a really influential article for myself. I would also note that, man, even when we get into TCS Live, more and more coaches, we hear it like just all the time now, are just they're borrowing and stealing from soccer/football.
I do it for basketball as well. Like, a good drill is a good drill, and you're either defending or you have the puck or the basketball, right? You're the soccer ball. You're trying to do the same thing. So there can be a lot of carryover if you're creative.
Yeah. Number 3, all the way from San Diego, California, our good friend Dan Arel, in his article, 2 hockey practice drills to work on net front battles.
So again, it's got a great title, right? We know the lower the number, the higher the view count. If this said 12 hockey practice drills, no coach is going to click that. I don't have time to look at that. 2, I can do that. We're not good at net front battles. Boom, boom. Dan is straight to the point. He's a great writer. It's actionable items you can take. I can read it right now and go coach my kids in 20 minutes. So his articles always do well. And yeah, this one's no different.
Yeah. And I would add that, when we did this, a lot of the feedback, when we were designing the coaches site or this new iteration, so much of the feedback we got from, especially youth coaches, was that I've got like 10 to 15 minutes at the end of my workday to get ready for practice. And I'm usually either going home to grab my kids, then to the rink, or I'm going straight to the rink. And so that was always a consideration. It's like, okay, like you're not gonna learn everything there is to know about coaching in 10 to 15 minutes, but if you can learn, like, how can we design this so you can learn one thing or one or two things that you can, as you said, can take right to practice, you can work on them, you can understand them and feel equipped to go teach them.
Yep.
And it, and I think it's very consistent amongst all our top content that is the secret sauce. We go to our fourth article. So this article is from Scott Dutertre, improving the power play through small area games. Um, I think this one's great because it provides a lot of variety. I know we just talked about the importance, but it's like they're all sort of subtle, but we get so many questions. I would say special teams is the one aspect of the game, along with maybe goaltending, where coaches consistently come to us and say, like, I'm starting from scratch. I don't have a lot of drills. And I think especially for coaches that are at youth hockey, then they may only have 2 hours a week in total of practice. They're looking for ways to work on special teams without, slowing things down to the point where you've got a bunch of kids taking knees on the ice and maintaining reps. And these are great examples where they're going to learn about, you know, um, the power play. Everybody's going to be involved, and they can learn by doing, which is, I think, really important.
I think you touched on it earlier in the podcast, but you learn by having fun, right? All these little games are just fun. Little do you know, coach is tricking you into actually teaching you something, but it's not a boring thing where he's X's and O's. You get to play a game and you learn, and then you play that same game in game and you score or you stop somebody, and coach connects those two dots. And yeah, small area games are huge, and I am actually surprised this is the only small area games one that made the list.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. And then the last one, from Enio Sacilloto, who's a bit of a legend out here on the West Coast. Enio has been a coach in the BCHL. He's coached in Europe for several years. He's coached in the Western Hockey League. He's been the head coach of the Croatian national team. But his article, 7 Keys to Defending One-on-One Along the Boards. This is an example, and what I love about this, and I really think this is the future. It's a coach breaking down video, but we can hear the audio and hear them explaining it. But it's short.
Yeah.
But in this particular case, I know, like, the one example is Jacob Slavin and how he plays one-on-ones along the board. Like, if you've never coached hockey before and you watch this, you're going to feel totally confident to go out and teach this specific part of the game. Like, it's such great detail. But again, I think it's great detail, but it's simple. And I think that's the balance that good coaches find.
Well, this is what we talked about. This is a very niche thing, right? Some of the other ones are broader topics. This just proves that going down a wormhole on one specific small thing can be very effective and popular. And here it is at number 5.
I also get a lot of feedback from our users on this particular article that they show the video, they just show the video to their players.
Yeah.
The teaching. And that's a great, which is awesome. Okay. So that is the top 5 articles. Now we're going to go to the top 5 TCS Live videos. So these are videos of presentations that were given at TCS Live, hockey's premier coaching conference, hosted annually at the University of Michigan in beautiful Ann Arbor. This year it will be June 12th to 14th. And if you haven't been, not only are you going to hear some great dad jokes, it's going to be the highlight of your off season from a hockey perspective. I can just about guarantee that it is so much fun. So, so this was a cool trip down memory lane. And what's really cool here is that you get to interact with these folks when they're backstage getting prepped. And that the backstage of TCS Live, like, we've got the green room back there where all the presenters hang out. Like, man, it's if you're a hockey coach, could be a fly on the wall there. Like, you learn a lot.
It's awesome. And you think, like, some of these guys, I mean, some of the names on the list here are big time NHL coaches who go coach in front of 18,000 people a night. They do that 82 times a year. So to me, and a lot of these guys played in the show, to me, there's nerves of steel, and they wouldn't be nervous. And then that first year, I remember being backstage with some of them, and they're shaking a little bit, and they're like, "Oh, I need a water," and they're like, "How many people are here?" And my God, they're just like my daughter about to do her school Christmas pageant. Like, okay, guys, relax. So now I'm kind of talking them down. That's it's not too many people, and don't worry, it's pretty dark. You won't see anybody. And then they go out there, and of course, they're absolute rock stars, and they just knock it out of the park every time. Leading with, I mean, I got to mention Brandon Naurato. He's our number one on the list, creating offense inside the decision zone. And Naurato, I think you knew him beforehand, but I didn't. And I'd always heard Naurato. And then you meet this guy, and he's an absolute rock star. And to just see him, I mean, get the job in Michigan and to see the job he's done and good dudes only. And you just keep learning more and more. And like he'll be in the NHL coaching before long, but I just feel like his climb up the coaching ladder kind of emulates the coach's site and the leaps that we've made over the last couple of years. I feel like we're the Brandon Naurato. He's the us. And I mean, you couldn't ask for someone better in Ann Arbor to come do these talks. And his talk last year was amazing. I hope he's coming this year. I don't know if you need to pull strings or what we need to do, but I think we named the conference after this guy. I love this guy.
Yeah, he's awesome. And you know what? I think what always impresses me about Brennan is like, he shows you how the sausage is made. Like I mean, I think he is an open book in terms of sharing,
Yeah.
How to teach the game, at least from his vantage point. And this article and the time that I've been doing the coaches site, and it's called Creating Offense Inside the Decision Zone. So this was actually an on ice presentation that he did. He brought out like the Michigan players. And we've never had a piece of content that just coach to coach in private that more people have referenced to me. Is just, and I'm talking like every level of coach, right up to the best league in the world, like coaches being like, this one really had an influence on how I see the game and how I teach the game offensively. And just there's a terminology he uses. There's an area that the corners of the offensive zone, he refers to them as the graveyard, where pucks go to die. And all of a sudden, like, this came out, and that just became a terminology that was a new term in hockey. And I think it's just a direct line, and full credit to him for putting that in the hockey coaching vernacular. So I think that just seeing how he explains it, just that in itself is going to make you a better coach. And how he takes something very complex and distills it down and makes it simple.
I took his presentation, the graveyards, and I had guys that would get over half and pick up the basketball, or they'd drive to the net and they'd stop and pick up the basketball. So I'm like, okay, Naurato's teaching the same thing here. So now we have graveyards on the basketball court because of his presentation, where you cannot go. You're going to get trapped. I don't know what they're actually called, but now my guys know, do not pick up the ball in the graveyard. So shout out to Naurato for that.
Awesome. Number 2 on the list is Teaching Offensive Zone Concepts by Pete DeBoer, head coach of the Dallas Stars. Pete is obviously a veteran NHL coach. And I think when you talk about just simple and direct communication, this was unbelievable. Like, just an absolute masterclass. And you can see what separates NHL coaches, and just in terms of how they have a presence on stage, how they command a room, and how they just ensure that everybody in that audience is going to be able to grasp the most complex of systems or tactics.
Yeah, I don't have much to add to that. He was just a fabulous guy, so nice, so genuine. And I remember after his presentation, or kind of when there was a break, people were going up to him, and he made the time, had the energy for everybody, explain every little question, answer every question they have, explain every detail. And that's huge to me.
Yeah, I would add this too. So after that talk, I remember there was this big, there was a real issue leading up to it, because the Dallas Stars video coach had put all the clips together. And so Pete has a rule, I guess, when he goes to the cottage in the off season, like, he doesn't bring his computer with him. He's like, I'm off the grid. And so they had to ship his laptop from Dallas to Ann Arbor, and it got there late. So, like, Pete's coming in, and we're like, where's the laptop? He gets in, where's the laptop? So we had to scramble last minute to get the presentation loaded on another computer. Turns out, though, that it ended up, like, literally, like, when he was on stage, like, that's when it arrived in Ann Arbor. But then he had to drive back. So I had to go with him to destination Ann Arbor where we had the laptop shipped to go grab it. And I just remember, like, Pete DeBoer, NHL coach, like, he is just an absolute dude. Like, we get into his like old beat up Toyota 4Runner. It's not a G-Wagon. It's just like the summer cottage vehicle. And he's just the most down to earth dude like you've ever met. And I can just see why players must love to play for him.
And
Just
that's
so
just,
relatable, no ego, just
I
yeah,
mean, it's
just
so refreshing, right? Like
unbelievable.
you're coaching in the NHL, you're coaching the best players in the world, some of the best players ever, but you're still, you're just a dude.
Yeah. Number 3 on the list. This one was really, um, a
Full circle,
cool.
full circle moment.
Yeah, big time. So it's Ryan Huska, head coach of the Calgary Flames, and his presentation was PK switches and keys to applying pressure. So the presentation itself, I think that why this one really resonates with coaches, because regardless of what system you're playing on the PK, there's going to be lessons and key teaching points and details from this that are going to apply not just on the PK, but in any aspect of the game defensively. And I think what the feedback that certainly that I took away from it, but I've heard this from a lot of coaches, is that they just added to their defensive kind of teaching toolbox with this. And there were some really great concepts that they've applied in all areas of the ice. But for me personally, this was big because Ryan was the first ever presenter at TCS Live way back in 2011, when at the time he was the head coach of the Kelowna Rockets. And not only that, he came on the podcast about 2 months before he spoke. And at that time, it had just been announced that Daryl Sutter had left the Flames. They had a head coaching vacancy, and he came on the podcast. And I just remember, like, and Ryan and I aren't best friends by any stretch, but we've kept in touch since 2011, and it's been. I mean, and if anybody that has met Ryan, like, he is just the best human. Like, he's just such a almost like one of those people that just lives their life to such a high standard. It's intimidating.
Yeah.
He just treats everybody so well. He's so polite. He's so polished. He's so genuine. Like, it almost makes you you're like, stop being so perfect, man. But just to know what him and his family have gone through in this coaching journey. And I think we understand that this impacts everybody around you to reach these heights. It's such a big commitment. I remember talking to my friend Ryan Pinder, who used to do Sportsnet radio in Calgary. He now is part of the Barn Burner podcast. I'm like, you watch, Ryan Huska is going to get that job. And he's like, I don't know. There was like all these other big names being floated around. I'm like, I don't know, man. I just can't see a scenario where this guy gets in front in an interview. I just don't see how you wouldn't hand the keys to him. And he got the head coaching job. I think it was the week before TCS Live, and just so freaking happy for him.
Yeah,
it was awesome.
He was that was one of the major script changes, right? That's why I have to lock myself in the room, because now he's the NHL head coach, and I have to
deal with that. It takes
change the jokes. Yeah, got to tone it down a bit. But yeah, like you're saying, DeBoer, Ryan Huska, and our number 4 on the list, Derek Lalonde, are all kind of seem to be cut from that same cloth of just genuinely great people. Are they all from the Prairies?
Shocking though. There's obviously there's no doubt you could trace back their lineage to the Prairies at some point, because
somewhere.
Yeah, that's where good humans come from. But yeah, so Derek Lalonde, head coach of the Detroit Red Wings, his presentation, Simple Habits of the Power Play. Again, if you knew nothing about hockey, if you've never watched the hockey game before, if you would watch this, and you would feel like an expert on the power play. And I think what is great about this, I think for a lot of coaches, when they think of the power play, they define it as that's a 2-minute period of time in a game where you have an extra player on the ice. And Derek's like, actually, no, it's not. There's all these different components that go into it, and you have to have a strategy for how you go back to the puck, how you break the puck out, how you cross the blue line, how you set up. And he breaks down all these little components, but again, in a way that just kind of, you're watching it, man, you feel like you go run an NHL power play meeting after watching this.
You break it down. I remember reading something years ago that was the smarter you get and the further up the ladder you get at whatever your professionalism, the worse you are at working with someone who's new, because you can't relate to having that
Interesting. Yeah.
little knowledge in your mind, right? And so for these three guys, and I would say especially Lalonde, to break it down so easily, and that, like you're saying, someone coming who really knows nothing and walks away feeling like they can run an NHL power play, like that's a skill. That's a, like, he's a coach, but he's also a teacher, and he just commanded the room so well. I think he had one of the best presentations I've ever seen. So yeah, there's a reason he's on this list.
Yeah. Number 5, and this is a cool one. So it's Justin Selman, who is a development coach out of New York, and Justin had applied and was accepted into our Global Skills Showcase. And his presentation, the Global Skills Showcase, was excellent. And we do a vote with all the people that tune in and watch these presentations to vote on their favorite. And the winner got to come out and do an on ice presentation at TCS Live. So Justin was voted the top presenter. But what was especially cool is that he played at Michigan. So this was a bit of a homecoming for him, and he killed it on the ice.
It was, so of all these presenters, Naurato, DeBoer, Huska, Lalonde, I mean, they maybe don't have a lot to gain from the coach's site per se, right? They're not trying to collaborate with us on Instagram Reels or write content. Selman was like, Derek, how do we, like, let's get together. Let's have a beer. How do we make some TikToks? How do we make some Instagram? I want to make more. Like, he was just so collaborative, and his energy was so infectious. It was so great. He got on the mic, and just the players on the ice lit up, everyone in the stands. I think some people come and go through the motions, maybe the people that do these presentations a lot and don't realize that someone's here for the first time coming to Ann Arbor. And just that spark of energy that Selman had was unbelievable.
Yeah, no, it was excellent. And again, I think what's great about this presentation is you get sort of the progressions and the how to teach.
Yeah.
And again, I think that, I think defensemen making plays is, I think back when I played, there was this huge evolution in the goaltending position.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we're seeing that right now with defensemen. Like, defensemen just look and play so much differently today than what they used to 10, 15 years ago. Things that, were no-nos previously, like passing in front of your own net, like that's allowed. Like, it never used to be that the most skilled players on the ice play defense. Now that's the case, I think, for a lot of teams. Yeah. So yeah, great presentation here. And I think, coaches of all levels will take a lot away from this. Moving on now to UGC, user generated content. So again, this is content that is created and published by our community. We have nothing to do with this. This just shows up on the site. What we do get, though, is we get the analytics. We get to see what is the most engaging, most popular content. And this is the top 5 from this past year. So number 1, from our good pal Mike McGinnis, who's the development coach with Hockey Alberta, and his, video on even Erik Karlsson makes this common D-zone mistake.
So, I mean, the title alone, what did he do? Right? You want it. It's not clickbait because there's something there, but you're like, I have to see what that is. So he's taking one of the best players in the world, breaking down a mistake he made and how to improve on it. So that is just a formula for success for anyone that wants to create community content and put it on the coach's site.
Yeah, and when we talked initially about community content before anybody ever posted anything on the coach site, this was the exact type of article that I envision as somebody. It's video based. It shows clips. He annotates it. It's so well produced, and again, it's produced just by him on an iPhone, and it's excellent. And I think provides, again, it gives you that nuance of how to teach something. And this is another post that I've had so much feedback on, where people are like, yeah, I just showed it to my players, just gave it to my players and let them learn directly from it. So anybody that knows Mike knows that there are a few people who are as passionate about, the finer points that go into player development. Number 2 on the list is over to Ontario, Kim McCullough, number 1 small area game for developing hockey IQ. We've done a few collabs now with Kim. She's awesome.
I remember when I don't know if she first wrote into us or if we found her or
I can't remember.
someone identified, but I got on the phone with her and she was just, oh my God, spitting knowledge. I'm like, okay, stop and either write this down or get on a podcast, start filming yourself. She's awesome. And again, this one right from the title, it's got small area games. It's the best small area game, and every young player needs to develop hockey IQ. So she nails it from the title, and then she breaks down the games so a coach can learn right there. And again, 20 minutes later, you go put that right into your practice. So great job, Kim.
Yeah, no, it's great. And I would say too, what I took away from it is that I think sometimes small area games are treated as like the cookie at the end of practice. And I think what Kim points out here is that it's actually small area games might be your best teaching environment that you can offer players.
Yeah.
Next up on the list, we're down to Minnesota, to Mr. Jacob Mars, who is a development coordinator with Minnesota Hockey, and his article, The 4-Shot Breakouts.
So he hasn't posted too much content. I think he just posted another 1 or 2 last week. And again, this is a video from practice and then 2 lines below explaining what's happening. So this doesn't have to be a whole dictionary you're writing and 1,000 words and it takes an hour. He filmed this, flipped it on here. He describes what's going on. It's got a title. It's got 2K views. It's got 15 likes. It's got some comments. It's under drills and practice plans so a coach can get it. And again, bingo, you go use it right away.
Totally. And this is a great example too, where I think we're finding now that other users on the site, like when they're getting ready for practice with their coaches, they just take these videos, they drop it into a clipboard within their locker, they create the practice, they send it out to everybody, and it's right there. And again, I think sometimes people think like, you need to go hire a videographer to film the stuff on the ice. You bring out your smartphone, you turn the camera on, you capture, you upload it, and then it just makes it honestly, it makes coaching so much easier in terms of giving everybody a line. So this is a great example of that.
100%.
Next up, Shaun, Earle, 3 drills to teach gap control with your defensemen. I think this is such an important post because I think if you ask a lot of defensemen, they kind of just feel like they're pylons in practice. Like they just skate backwards for the purpose of providing a little bit of resistance for the forwards, but there's not a purpose. This kind of flips the script and I think provides coaches a lot, not only great drills, but great teaching points on how you specifically teach gap control versus just saying, skate backwards and try not to give up too much ground to the offensive player.
So I've got a story about Shaun Earle, and it's one of my favorite TCS Live stories because the first year I did it, obviously I was a little shakier and not as polished as I am now, clearly. And so I'm backstage I hang out just on the side when someone's presenting in case there's a little timer in front of them. So they're typically given 15 to 25 minutes, but if they go 20 minutes, I got to be ready to get on stage. So a presentation ends. Right before it ends, my phone buzzes. And it's a text from my mom, and it's a picture of me on stage at TCS Live from kind of a side angle. Okay, my mom knows I'm in Ann Arbor. She knows I'm doing this, but she's not here. So I get on stage and I just kind of read out like, hey, whoever's texting with my mom, like, can you cut it out? And everyone laughed and thought it was a bit. And I was like, no, like actually someone just, so I'm looking over here as to like who, anyways, I let it go. And the next day, Shaun Earle approaches me, introduces himself. Turns out that he played hockey with my brother, Kurt. They won a U18 national championship in 2004 together.
I didn't even know this.
Yeah. And then he played 4 years in the MJHL. I don't know if him and my brother played in the MJHL together, but definitely. So he's a stand-up guy. He's from Brandon. We know lots of the same people. And so he sent the picture of me on stage to his brother and was like, remember Derek? And then his brother knows my mom, shipped it off. Long story short, Shaun has become one of the most reliable Red community contributors we have. And it's a story, basically a story or two a week. And he writes a lot of them ahead of time. I can see through the back end. And then he just hits publish on certain days. So I think he has maybe a day off. He pounds out 3 articles and then just times them properly. And he does a lot from on-ice drills, small area games, leadership, from kind of preseason to end season meetings. He's all over the board, and it's kind of that Perfect for any coach, U10, U8, U6. Yeah. Shout out Shaun Earle.
Shout out the Prairies too, man. You know what I love about this is, a coach like Shaun Earle, so often I think before um, a platform like the coach that comes along, a coach like Shaun Earle is no question respected, in his community with his players, etc. But now, if I was looking at playing on his team or taking part in one of his development sessions, I would just Google his name. All this stuff it would be clear to me in about 5 seconds that this is
Yeah.
somebody I want to be around. That's a great mentor that cares, that's super passionate. And I think we see that play out again and again where coaches are developing, their personal brand, I guess, kind of gets enhanced by posting on the
Yep.
coaching site because that's how people find them. That's how they get to know them.
Yep.
And all of a sudden they get exposed to hockey folks all around the world, which is, again, you and I think we have the benefit of nerding out on all the data, but it's really remarkable when you see the impact and reach that these coaches have now through the work that they share on the coaches site. And last but not least, little caveat here is from Kelvin Cech, who has been such an integral part of the coaches site journey. Before you came along years ago, he was a director of content when this is very much just off the side of our desks. And we were a bit more of a blog, but Kelvin has been a junior hockey coach, coach of the year in the Manitoba Junior Hockey League. He came back to work with us last spring, but prior to that, he wrote this post, my favorite drill, the meat grinder. Again, it's a small area drill, a very, very catchy title. Like, who's not
Great
going
title.
to
Yeah. You're
yeah.
seeing titles are huge.
But again, I think it's just a coach saying, hey, here's a drill that I use all the time. Here's the context for it. Here's some of the key details. I think this drill applies to players of all levels. And, again, this is just, this is me personally. Like, I just look at the size of our community now and you're like, man, if every coach shares their best drill, just exactly what Kelvin did here,
Yep.
holy cow, like you've got the resource that you have access to is unbelievable. This is free content. And I know this is a drill that, I think for a lot of coaches just become part of their toolbox. And, Kelvin's he's kind of our ultimate guinea pig a little bit.
Guinea pig, Swiss Army knife, all around great guy. But yeah, as soon as I saw meat grinder as the title, I was like, yes, this will do well.
It's going to play well. Yeah.
There's nothing in the body of the story. It'll still get clicks.
So, and good segue with Kelvin as well. So Kelvin's role with us now is he works with coaches on creating courses. So this is a new form of content that we are offering on the coaches site, and we just recently we've had a couple of courses that we've put out there before, but we just recently launched a course with Daniel Broberg. And if you're on the coach site, you're very much familiar with Broberg. He's one of the top skills coaches in the world. He's based out of Sweden. But Kelvin was kind of, when he got hired back here, we were just like, Kelvin, like, we're going to do courses. He's like, great. How do you do that? We're like, we don't know. You're going to figure it out. And we're going to connect you with Daniel and you go. And he did it. And it's one of the things I am the most proud of in the history of the coaches site. It is so good. And while it didn't make this year's top list, I have no doubt it's going to be on next year's top list. And what's really exciting is next year we'll have an additional category. No doubt that we're going to touch on. It's going to be the top courses from 2025.
Yes, and I regret not mentioning the course in my highlights from 2024 because watching Kelvin go through the journey of learning how to do something for the first time was amazing. Broberg's course, 7 steps from basic skills to smooth power. It's thecoachesite.com/smooth power. And we launched this last Wednesday, so mid-December, and the feedback we've gotten is tremendous. I'm insanely proud of this course.
It's lights out, and I'm saying this purely like as a youth hockey coach. There is nothing I've invested in. It takes about 90 minutes to get through it, so an hour and a half. I can't think of any 90 minutes I've invested in my own development as a coach that's been more impactful in this course. Like, I just took, literally Daniel. And again, this is somebody that like goes all over the world, works with like some of the, the superstars in the NHL down to youth coaches. But unless you sign up for his course, there's no other way you get access to what he does. I mean, this is like getting the golden ticket and going into Willy Wonka's chocolate factory and meeting the Oompa Loompas and all that. And I'm trying to think of a good comparison of what the
that was good.
here.
That was good.
Yeah, welcome to a day at the coach's site, folks. But no, I mean, he literally just lays it all out there, and I just learned so much of like subtleties about like posture and hand positioning and how you and what balance, like what good balance and bad balance looks like on the ice. And yeah, I just feel like I'm so much better equipped to coach kids. And which is, I've been doing this a long time, but I learned just so much.
And Broberg will be presenting at TCS Live 2025.
So I don't even know if you know this. Like, I have been trying to get Daniel Broberg to present at TCS Live for probably 6 years now, and he's just in such demand that it's the off season. He's like, I'm booked up like yours. So finally this year we were able to pin him down. Amazing. And I have a feeling that there may not be a more anticipated presenter at TCS Live ever. And after this, now that people have checked out this course, I would say that's just like pouring gas on it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll make sure his intro is fits the bill then.
Yeah. Also, you and I have gotten to know him a little bit more. Like, what an interesting guy.
Man, he's
the Dos Equis man.
I was about to say, I thought it was Heineken. I couldn't remember what it was.
Yeah. Yes. He's the Dos Equis guy. He's the most interesting guy in the world. He's amazing at coaching hockey, but I feel like you could talk to him about just about anything, and
his voice is just I want him to read me a bedtime story to go to sleep.
Oh, that's the next thing we should do. Like,
I know how creepy that is.
Can I just time out here? I totally forgot to get into this. Speaking of accomplishments for 2024, you wrote a book and published it.
Oh, yes, I did. How did I not think of that either?
Yeah, no kidding. Shameless plug here. Let's dive into that.
Shameless plug.
Well, and I know because I read it. My son loves it.
There it is.
There it is right there. The Perfect Stick.
It's called The Perfect Stick. It's about camping adventures I've had with my son. He's 14 now. I started writing it when he was about 4, maybe. Publishing a book takes a long time, I've learned. It's illustrated by the great Derek Toy, who's done a lot of illustrations for the Canucks. Absolute a dream come true. I wanted to do it to prove I could write a children's book for myself, and also just to give it to my kids and kind of have a legacy piece and see them reading it. I gave Ozzy one. I was thrilled to hear that you two loved it. And there's just something universal about kids and sticks. So to hear that I'm part of this book's part of kids' bedtime routines is, pretty overwhelming. Pretty cool.
Can you just touch on the experience of getting outside your comfort zone and saying, hey, I'm going to do something that I've never done before, that I may not be qualified for, but I'm going to figure out how to do it, and I'm going to leave something behind, and that, hopefully other people, like, it's really a work of art.
Thank you. Honestly, it was a labor of love for a long time. That was just, I would kind of work on it before bed and rewrite pages, and it's all, again, based on real things Denver and I did. And then kind of COVID hit. And that was when we moved from Vancouver to the Okanagan. That was when I changed jobs. That was when a lot of things happened, because you just kind of look in the mirror and like, am I happy? Like, life's short here. Let's make sure we're on the right path. And I saw the script laying there, and I'm like, okay, it's time to do this. So we worked with Telwell Publishing. But what I didn't know is kind of you launch a book and then the work starts, if that makes sense. Right. So then you got to market this thing, and it's on Amazon, and it's in chapters, and I got to do appearances. And I don't also want to be just a book salesman. So I don't know what to do now that kind of my immediate friends and family have bought it, and maybe one extension. I don't know how to go the full 9 yards, how to get on Oprah's list or research.
I'm just envisioning you now, like when people, like when you're at a holiday party and they meet you for the first time, it's like, Derek, what do you do for a living? You're like, I'm an author. Like, you just get to say that, like, I'm an author.
No big deal. Big story.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, just totally eccentric. The opposite of what we've described all the coaches, like, just but you should be super proud of it. It's awesome. I know our whole team was stoked for you, and it's been awesome to watch that come to life, man.
So I can flip the script here.
Sure.
Again, our team loves watching you on the podcast, you and Justin put together the podcast. And
Justin put together the podcast for clarification.
we'd be amiss if we didn't talk about top 5 podcasts of the year. And do you have any guesses what's in the top 5? Any that stand out? I mean, you do like one.
You know what? They all bleed. So it's funny because the year, like we do it seasonally, right? So we kind of go from September and June. So 2024 is sort of parts of 2.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So I'm trying to think back, man. They just, I don't know. What would number 1 be?
Number 1, improving skating mechanics with Jill Plandowski.
Oh, no way. Amazing. Jill's fantastic.
So whenever we put something online with Jill, the East Coast lights up, right?
Yeah.
So she's just got this following, this fan base over there, and she's her energy is too infectious. I feel like you're excited to hear her speak and learn from her.
Absolutely. And great example of somebody like is just a specialist that is like from their experience being a skater to teaching skating, and she's been doing this and working with players of all levels for so long. She's got 3 boys that play hockey, and man, oh man, I mean, I felt like I felt like we could have talked skating for hours and just scratched the surface. She had so much to offer, but I love that she's the number 1 podcast, because I mean, for what it's worth, she's going up against NHL coaches, some pretty big names. I don't think she was probably a bit of an unknown to a lot of people that tune her into an episode. I think that's just a great example of just, organically people start sharing with their friends, it catches fire, and it's a great conversation.
100%. And pushing your own content within your own network, right? Yeah. I know she shares a lot of that. Number 2, how to improve goal scoring with Steve Sullivan.
Oh, yeah. So, you know what was cool about this one? And I think I talk about it on the episode. So last Christmas, we went to my brother-in-law's place in Calgary to spend it with his family. And during at Christmas time at Calgary, starting on Box Day, is the Max tournament. It's a big deal there. Like if anybody's been around that tournament, it's like if that was the highlight of your hockey playing career, like it's a big deal. They do such a great job with it. So, anyways, I took a day to go spend at Max Bell Arena in Calgary, just to watch hockey. I was like, for one day, I'm just gonna go. Told all my kind of hockey pals in Calgary, I'm like, I'm gonna be here. Let's meet up there. And I probably watched like, I don't know, 6 games throughout the day. But one of the games I watched was the Arizona Junior Coyotes, or Phoenix Junior Coyotes play the Rink Academy out of Kelowna. And I was watching Arizona play, and they didn't necessarily have like the most standout talent, but they were just such a well-coached team, like incredibly structured, super detailed, like players just working so hard away from the puck. And I'm like, oh man, like this team's really impressive. They ended up going to the final and playing Shaddix, but I just remember like looking up on my phone and being like, I wonder who coaches the team. And it was Steve Sullivan. I'm like, Steve Sullivan, like that played in the NHL. Yeah, he did. And so I reached out to Brian Suglocki, who's, a friend of the show and is also a TCS live presenter. He's based out of Arizona. He's Austin Matthews' skills coach in the summer. And I said, hey, like, is this Steve Sullivan coaching this team from like the NHL? He's like, yeah. I'm like, their team's like really good. He's like, dude, he is an unbelievable coach. And so we just reached out to him like out of the blue and said, hey, like, you don't know us, but we'd love to want to come here and talk about your kind of what you do coaching wise. And he was, I think he was a little reluctant at first, but when he came on and got going, man, he was awesome.
Yeah. Wealth of knowledge. I think if you've played the game, you've been in the shit, like you got a lot to share. You have a lot of lessons. And then if you carry that over into coaching, so that was a good one.
Can I just touch on this? This is actually really cool from that episode. So I asked him at the end, because he'd been coaching minor hockey for a long time and was clearly passionate about it. I think that's another thing too. Like a lot of the folks that we work with, like it's not an ego thing to say I coach in the NHL. They just love the game. They love coaching, and they have the same amount of, they are just as invested coaching a U18 team in Arizona as they are in the pro. But when we were talking with Steven, I'm like, hey, like what's next for you? He's like, I kind of think I'm ready for a new challenge. I'm probably going to, and this might've been in the podcast interview itself, or maybe it was just sort of like after we had stopped recording and him and I were just chatting.
Yeah.
And he mentioned he was looking to he goes, I think I'm ready to go coach pro. And sure enough, he's an assistant coach for the Toronto Marlies this year, which is so cool.
So just made it happen.
Yeah. Coach said bump. Yeah.
Well, I'm ready to be a New York Times best.
You wait till you see what happens to your career after being on this show, Derek, and then come talk to us.
Number 3, and I absolutely love the title with this one: winning championships without cheating.
I don't even know why that's the title. I agree, it's a great title. I have no idea.
That's number 3 on the list.
So yeah, Dan Seaman, who is Canadian, coach in Slovakia, he's played in Europe, coached in Europe a whole bunch. And he actually reached out to me, I believe on LinkedIn, didn't know him. And he's like, hey, like, love the coach's site, love the podcast. Just saying hi and introducing myself. And so we kind of developed, we were like kind of pen pals online. And I was like, man, like they won a championship. And I'm like, you should need to come in. Let's come on and talk about this. And he did. And, it was one of those like so many of these conversations on Glass now, like, I do a ton of research into people, but I may not know them that well. It might be the first time I chat with them. So it was just a chance to dive in, and just an amazing story. And what I took away from it is that, his coaching career hadn't been like, a completely upwards trajectory. There had been, he'd been let go in the past. He'd had some ups and downs, and it's just like you could see, but every step was just, built to getting better at his craft. And then, comes to the Slovakian league and wins the whole darn thing, and he's still having a great run over there. Yeah,
without
cheating. I got to go back and listen to this episode, but it's a great conversation. One of those ones, like sometimes I'll be doing like I just forget that we're actually recording this. Like I just sort of like geek out. I'm just get so interested in what makes these people tick. So love that's up there. What's next?
Number 4, building confidence in creativity with Adam Jonak.
Oh man, yeah. So Adam, another, we got introduced to him through the Global Skills Showcase. He applied, so he's a Cech coach. His dad's actually the head of youth hockey development for the Cech Federation. But together they had started. I think his dad started. It's called the Cech Knights, and I know this because when I was the hockey director of the North Shore Winter Club, I coached our Pee Wee team 2020. We went to the Quebec tournament. And we made it to the quarterfinals, and we actually got bounced by the Cech Knights. And I didn't know Adam at the time. I just knew that this team was so ridiculously skilled, like every kid on the team. And they didn't have. I couldn't tell you what. I still use clips from that game just to show people that, like in youth hockey, go all in on skill, because if your kids are skilled, the system's like they just go through. It doesn't matter. Like they're just. Kids will make plays, and the most skilled team's going to win. What's really cool, and we learned this on the podcast, like when we had them on, the Cech World Junior team had played Canada in the final of the World Juniors, and the Czechs had sort of had a little bit of a dip development wise from say the late 90s.
Mm-hmm.
He was like, yeah, it's like 2/3 of the Cech World Junior team played on his Cech Knights program, which is bananas.
That's amazing.
But I would say all time, that is the like I literally like just took things from that conversation and implemented my kids' practice. And I to this day, like I still reach out to Adam, like when I need a new idea or to solve, like, man, he's got more moves than a monkey climbing up a vine. Like he just anything, I'd be like, how do we do this? He's like, oh, you do this drill, and he'll send me like something, and I'm like, amazing. It's gold. Like, yeah.
More moves than a monkey climbing up a vine.
Yeah.
Welcome to TCS. Welcome to the coach's site.
Yeah, there you go. All right. It was at 4. So is there one more? Is there 5?
Not last but not least, why teams become their leaders with Cody Royal.
And
this one's very well timed because his TCS
we just released his TCS Live.
TCS Live presentation came out today. So it's available now on the coach's site. It's an unreal presentation, as this was an unreal conversation.
Yeah, so interesting. And I'm trying to think how we first got connected to Cody, because he's Australian, lives in Toronto, but he basically is a consultant, or he's a coach of coaches. So he works with like coaches like in the English Premier League across multiple sports. And the observations that I think, he points out in this conversation of like how he works with his clients, it's like it's their body language, it's the tone of their message, it's like all these things that it's like It's sport agnostic. Like he's not working with you like on what he's not teaching about rondo drills necessarily, but he's saying like, how do you show up? What's the culture? What's the learning environment? Fascinating. I will say this: if you're a coach in any sport, or if you're managing people in any industry, you will take so much away from this conversation.
Yeah, 100%. I watched it this morning before I put it online, and one of the biggest takeaways was it doesn't matter where you are in your coaching career. You think you've reached the pinnacle, you have to be willing to be coached, right? Just because you've made it to where you think you've made it, there's always another team, there's always somebody watching, you can always get better. So that was huge for me. But I think the biggest takeaway for me with your podcasts this year and past years is that I compare your questions in preparation to that of Sean Evans. Now, do you know who Sean Evans is?
No.
Okay. Have you heard of a show called Hot Ones?
Oh, like is that chicken wings or something?
Chicken wings.
I've seen it like on social media. Like
okay. Do yourself a favor when we get off
never
here.
watched an episode.
Go hit YouTube. He's got a guest. They line up wings, put hot sauce on them. So for as much as they're actors, actresses, musicians, they maybe have this mask on as to who they want to be when they're performing. When they're sweating, eating chicken wings, answering his questions, you see the real person. So I really appreciate that. But your prep is a lot like his. And in honor of you both, I actually picked up some Hot Ones sauce here. The last dab, which is, and I've had this plate of veggie chicken wings sitting here for the past hour, smelling so good. So I'm just going to put some hot sauce on a chicken wing and eat one here while you.
Oh man, that's great.
While you wrap up the podcast.
Yeah, and hey, like for everybody that's out there, more fun facts. Derek is also vegan, and so every time we get together as a team, he doesn't eat meat, and we get to learn a lot about that too. And if you could see his facial expression right now, that is some damn hot sauce, damn good hot sauce, I reckon.
So, oh my god.
I'm so glad we're doing this virtually and I don't have to eat one of those things because it looks so painful right now.
So the Scoville level is
you can't even
2
talk.
million. 2 million.
Do I need to call Tash right now and tell her to head down to the basement? Oh, is this like a game? What is that?
Yeah, you ask questions. You ask questions, and then if you don't get it right, you gotta do some hot sauce.
Oh my god. Okay, I wanted to finish this up. I don't know if we're gonna actually get to this because I don't know if you can talk. You
Good.
also might need to go to a hospital right now. I know you and I are both big fans of podcasts and books. Really quick would just be personally, any books, podcasts, and I ask this question to most of the guests that come on the show, any books, podcasts that have been really influential to you and in the context of the show the last year.
So all my thoughts and focus are with my tongue right now. But what book did I buy you for Christmas? That's my number one recommendation. Sorry, The Comfort Crisis.
The Comfort Crisis, yes. And who's it by? Can you just share that?
By Michael Easter.
Okay, I'm just gonna. Okay, so I have just started reading this, and I don't know if I've ever read a book that within the first 20 pages, I had so many questions about my own life. It is going to make you feel, well, at least me. I'm not going to speak for everybody. It made me feel so soft to an extent. It made me feel so eager for adventure. It made me question how I prioritize my life and my time and where I attention my focus. And you know what? It was so impactful in the first 20 pages. I stopped reading it and I said, I'm going to read this between Christmas and New Year's when I've got some downtime and I can just dive right in because it was really affecting me. It was hitting me in the core and making me question some things. I'm like, I need to be in a good psychological place to dive into this. Does that mirror your reaction at all?
100%. Yeah. I was speeding through it and then I got to take my time with this one. And
yeah.
So I paused. So I'm glad you had that reaction. That's my number one. And my number two is, what's the one the book you had up by the music guy? Oh my God.
Oh, the Creative Act by Rick Rubin.
Yeah, that would be my number two. Those are my
When did you get into that one?
Friend of mine, Mitch Carefoot, good friend of mine, who actually you coached the team he played against.
Yeah, he was terrifying.
He's got some stories about you.
That's fun.
Him and my brother run music festivals here in the Okanagan, Altitudes and Denim on the Diamond. So they're always looking for different ways to be creative. And he turned me onto it. But that's another one where I don't want to blaze through it. I want to read a couple pages and sit with it and see if it resonates and reread, because it's not really written in chapters. It's kind of a page or two is a lesson. So it's different than other books. What are your books?
Yeah, so I was going to reference that one. Huge for me. I think it'll be one of those ones that I read for the rest of my life. And as you said, it's like if you got 5 minutes every morning, you can kind of get through these little excerpts.
Yeah.
And for me, it really, I'll speak from I would say outside of thinking about my family, I would say that 98% of my thoughts in a given day are split between coaching hockey and business. And I think it just made me understand both of those, while you might not associate them with creativity, they're very much creative acts. And I think just how you approach everything and being and I think the importance of having an open mind, and B, not putting things out there, whether it's your business, whether it's coaching. Like you're not coaching for a result. You're not coaching for for the parents who are watching in the stand. You are coaching. Your job is to put the best work out there and accept whatever the results are.
Yep.
And I think it really resonated with me that when you do that, you put it out there and then you move on, you move to the next thing. And it's just, life is everything you're doing is a craft and it's a work in progress. Your job is just to get better at it and just please yourself. Like if you leave the rink and you're happy, mission accomplished.
Yeah. Doesn't matter what the score was.
If you were honorable, did your best job, mission accomplished. And then the second book that really, from a coaching perspective, it was The Miracle of Saint Anthony. Yeah, it's Adrian Warnowski. Adrian Warnowski. Sorry, there's a lot of consonants in that last name, but he's an amazing writer. If you're an NBA for basketball fan, you know who he is. It was a big deal when he left ESPN, but he wrote this book on kind of the onset of his career. It kind of put him on the map. So if anybody's Dan Hurley just won back-to-back national championships with UConn. Dan Hurley is his dad. His older brother, Bobby Hurley, played at Duke, one of the best all-time greatest college basketball players, first round pick to Sacramento. Unfortunately, was in a horrific car accident, kind of derailed his career. He now coaches basketball as well. But this book, it just follows. So their dad, I know I'm going all over the map here. Their dad, Dan Hurley, he's in the Basketball Hall of Fame. Yeah. He just coached St. Anthony's, a high school program in New Jersey. It was basically this program that put together just to get, kids from the ghetto, just a safe place. And man, he won, I think it was 27 state titles, like the wagon of all wagons. They didn't have their own, they had no resources whatsoever. He coached this team for I think it was almost 40 years. And this book just follows him around for a year. And it's a roller coaster of emotions. Like he coached these kids, Derek, so hard. I don't think there's a chance you could get away with it now.
Yeah.
But this whole thing, it's like these kids are just going to need to be tougher to survive life.
Yeah.
And it is from a coaching perspective, it's one of those things they say, almost like the book, The Comfort Crisis. It makes you question everything. Yeah. But but it also, the one thing that I took away from it, it's, man, when done right, coaches can have this, they have this platform to just have an amazing impact on their athletes' lives. So yeah, those be my two books. Just really quick, podcasts, anything that
So typically when I'm driving, so you just said you question everything. I'm questioning everything that I thought this was a good idea to put this. My nose is running, my entire mouth.
You look like a hot mess right now.
I don't know what. Yeah. No, I'll take that. So if I'm sniffling, that's why.
Yeah.
when Denver and I are driving into Kelowna for basketball, we're always on smart lists.
You know what?
Jason Bateman,
you
Sean
lost
Hayes,
it. I thought this was you was
Will
leading
Arnett.
back to hot sauce. Like on when we're driving to basketball, we're just like hitting the
Hot
hot
sauce. No,
Okay.
no, smart list.
Okay,
Smart
yeah.
list is my podcast. Again, Jason Bateman, Sean Hayes, Will Arnett, and I hope the banter you and I have resembles 10% of the banter they have, because I just love hearing their shit and the way they get guests fully comfortable. Yeah, it's fantastic. Here's a little known fact. I launched a Canucks podcast when I was with the Canucks.
No, I didn't know this.
It was called Canucks Confidential, and I had 5 episodes prepped. I did Archibald, Stetcher, Pedersen, Beagle, and Roussel. So I had an intro. I did all this stuff, but my one goal was we don't talk about hockey. So I did full episodes, and there's not one mention of hockey in the whole thing. I just wanted to know the person inside. And long story short, I was not allowed to air them. They got axed by some people who axed them. But so I love whenever you're with a guest and you get something out of them that's not hockey related, and just you get to peek under the curtain a little bit. That's my favorite, and Smartless is the best at that.
Yeah, amazing. Totally agree. You know what? That would be like when I'm transitioning from my workday. Like if I'm like all of a sudden it's like cooking dinner, like that's what's on the. It's fun, and I agree. That's a great one. So my 2 would be that I got turned on to this year. One is called Lenny's podcast. At our core, the coach side is a tech company. I come from a background of drawing circles and X's on a whiteboard, not exactly the prerequisite to lead a tech company, but I've learned so much about how to build product. And specifically, they talk to, the people that aren't obvious. If you follow tech, like you think of like Mark Zuckerberg and kind of, Elon Musk, these folks, but they talk to the people that like build products and are part of the growing these, like, all these ideas generally start out small, and then all of a sudden you got a massive company. And they talk to the people that scale these companies, build these products. I've taken so much away, obviously, for what, we do 9 to 5 with the coaches, right? But I think equally as much just how people work together, how important communication is, how important setting a vision is, how important, putting people in strength. Like there's so much parallels to, like, honestly, like coaching a sports team. It's uncanny. So and I love that kind of Lenny stories. He started this just as a hobby. He was the product manager for Airbnb. I feel like if I'm reading the tea leaves, he cashed out
Very
and
cool. Yeah.
started a podcast for fun, and it's just blowing up. So inspiring. The other one that I've really gotten turned on to is Theo Vaughn, the comedian. And so he interviews people, but Theo is somebody, he's about my age. He's somebody that is a comedian. Like he's had to, like, build his career up. Like it's a great example of somebody, like, you forget, like, it's an overnight success that took 15 years of him just like doing stand up and working his craft. But he's also very transparent about some of the struggles he's had with mental health, with substances, etc. And I think just really, I love it because he just makes it really comfortable for if you listen to it, just look in the mirror and say, like, I got some flaws too, and that's okay. And we're all working on things, and we're all trying to get better, and we're just trying to, and I think he kind of brings out a lot of his conversations with his guests, and again, celebrities, people that are well known, and he kind of disarms them and gets them to talk about maybe some of the shit that they've had to work on in their lives and overcome, or their insecurities, whatever. And I think we all need to hear that, because we live in a world today, Derek, and all we see is people's like A game, and pretty soon you feel like, man, I don't have an A game, and maybe I suck. And it's important to remember that, like, we're all just
trying.
We're all just figuring this thing out, and like nobody's got it. Like, your A game on Instagram is not representative of who you are as a human. And so anyways, those would be my 2. But
100%.
We covered a lot of ground today.
We
went way longer than what we scheduled.
Does anyone? Yeah, I was going to say, does anyone listen to this full thing? Because I think I'd like to test that. Okay, there's a basketball player on my shirt, and whoever, when this episode comes out, whoever can tweet us and tell me who this player is, proof they watched the whole thing, I'll send you a free autographed copy of the Perfect Stick. How's that?
Yeah, you know what? I'll throw in a free ticket to TCS Live.
wow, that is much better than my book.
That's a prize pack right there. That's amazing. And and the book is totally worth it. So
you know who this is, right?
Dude.
Okay, just checking. Just don't say the name. I won't
say the name.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I'm excited. So, sorry, just to repeat, what do people have to do? They got to message you.
They got to just DM or message us, me or the coach's site, whatever.
Just reference Glass Note Podcast.
Say who's on my shirt.
DJ. Yeah, just so the sub is DJ shirt.
Proof they listened the whole way through. And
how are you going to pick the winner? Whoever does it first?
Sure.
Okay, I like that. Yeah, so first person gets signed autograph copy of the Perfect Stick and a free ticket to TCS Live. That's a hell of a way to start 2025. Look at that. DJ, man, appreciate it. This was awesome. What a great way to head into the holiday season here.
This was fantastic. Thank you for having me. I only regret the hot sauce. That's the only part I would change.
Yeah, and again, people are going to listen to this in early January. We're going to be kicking off the year, but I will say, just because we don't get enough chances to do so, everybody that listens to the show, everybody that's part of our Coaches Site community, you have no idea just how much fun we have, how passionate we are, and how fortunate we all feel that we get to get up every day and do the job that we do. And that is to serve you and provide you the best possible resource. And the fact that you invest your time, your money, and you put your trust in us, it means so much. So happy holidays, Merry Christmas, all the best to all of our listeners, everybody in our community. We love what we get to do, and the only reason we get to do that is because you're a part of this whole thing along with us. So thank you. And
is that unscripted? That was just off the top of your head.
Yeah,
you're reading something. Chat GPT write that for you? What is that? Was poetic right there? Put that on a T-shirt.
Okay, well, we've already got one contest here. No more, nothing going to coach that. But yeah, so listen, man, appreciate you. Justin doesn't get said enough. Justin is the Wizard of Oz behind the curtain of Glass Note, and he puts all the lipstick and polish on it. So thanks to Justin, and that's it, man. Let's go 2025.
Okay, let's go.
From the pipe. Okay,
yeah.
Cheers.